Greetings and welcome to Connecting with the Intent Formula Show. I am your host Muhammad Awais. On this episode, we have a very special guest. He is the co-founder at Roasberry and MSc Business Analytics student at Imperial College London, Sinan Noyan. Please join me to give a warm welcome to our guest, Sinan Noyan. Sinan, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Let me start with this. Where were you? What happened? Who were you surrounded with that inspired you to do what you do today?
Yeah, so the roots of the company basically. We were sitting with a friend of mine who is now my co-founder, and he had another business in e-commerce, which he still has actually. And we were talking about the struggles he was having because he wanted like my advice. And we started talking about how some marketing schemes could be optimized better and how they're struggling with measuring the success of their digital ads, making more out of their digital campaigns. And it all resonated with me because I've always been very passionate about data science and optimization models. And I thought, well, surely there is a better way to assess how you sell your product online, whether it's an e-commerce business or even another company that's putting ads online. So we started doing some market research, took a look at the competitive landscape, and try to understand what we can bring to the industry that would be of answer to some of the consumers, mainly e-commerce brands, as my friend also has one. So yeah, after like a rigorous research period, we thought we can do this, and we do have the capability to provide value to the market. So that was the origin story. It was just a friend of mine. We were talking, and well, having the entrepreneurial mindset we have, these kind of conversations just come up naturally. So yeah, that was the origin story of Raspberry, I can say.
Thank you for sharing your story. What is your higher purpose in life?
Oh yeah, that's a thinker, isn't it? I mean, it's not a question that one can answer very easily, obviously, but for me, it's about fulfillment, and the route to fulfillment, I think, goes through happiness, of course, and to be happy, I feel like personally, in my own personal journey, setting aside the family life, friends, and everything, obviously, you want to spend quality time with them and accumulate good memories and everything. But in my personal journey, I want to fulfill my potential, which I believe I have. And this could be something different for everyone, right? If you think you're capable of doing certain things, even if you are or not, but as long as you believe in that, you do put some responsibility on yourself to fulfill those and use it for good, useful to the environment, to the planet, whatever, science, academia, whatever you're passionate about, you feel obligated to contribute to that area. So for me, fulfillment will come through that. I'm very in the beginning, but as long as I feel like I am doing the most of, I'm taking the most out of my capabilities, it's fulfillment for me, which equates to happiness. So I guess I can say that as a purpose in life. I don't know if it's the highest, but yeah, it's certainly up there.
What have been top three greatest challenges that you have had to overcome?
Oh, um, well, I think the challenges I've faced aren't circumstantial. They're more ongoing struggles, I can say, because we all deal with daily challenges or like periods of hardships. But for me, like one of the biggest ones that I've been dealing with, the expectations of self, and monitoring that, sometimes going too hard on myself. This obviously comes from the expectation part of it, but also it's like sabotaging yourself if you're constantly judging yourself and like expecting maybe the unexpected, or so to speak. So I'm trying to mediate that and overcome that daily, which I feel like I'm doing a better job at the moment. But also, just to give you a little more tangible stuff, obviously, the COVID years have been very tough for the entire globe. I was finishing my undergrad. Well, actually, I was a sophomore in undergrad when COVID first started. So, a big chunk of my college life, I had to deal with everything that came with COVID. Obviously, I was incredibly fortunate to not lose any family members. I hope you haven't either. But during those times, we did have some health issues within my immediate surroundings, like my family and my closest friends. And persevering through those times, it was obviously tough because you have a lot of going on and there's a lot of uncertainty in the world. But yeah, I guess, very fortunate to not have gone through something incredibly challenging from both a personal and professional sense. But yeah, I think these come to mind the first.
Okay. What is your greatest failure story? What did you learn and how did you recover from it?
Yeah, so this is a good question. Obviously, you have to learn from your failures, so you have to be able to recognize your failures. For me, professionally, I'm at the very beginning of my career, so the failures I've faced were well, obviously not as big as the ones I will face in the future. And I'm very aware of that. There is no life, there is no success without great failures. So even though I may not have a big failure story now, I do understand that um, I there will come a time where I'll have to deal with that. And obviously, this is not to say that I haven't failed in anything. Before started Roasberry, I did pursue some other ventures in sports analytics momentarily, I could say, and also some different business ideas. And well, apparently they didn't work out, and I ended up founding Roasberry with the story that I told you. But yeah, I think the big part in that is understanding what went wrong. Um, Maybe it was due to you, maybe it wasn't, but to be completely objective in analyzing that is the key. You have to know when to put the blame on yourself and when not to. You don't want to take more accountability than you should or less than you're supposed to. So I found that balance quite hard to find, and I'm trying to do my best. But this has, I think, been the biggest lesson I've learned from those experiences. Understanding if I did something wrong or it was circumstantial, that I had no control over it. Yeah, that's what I can say.
Yeah. What is the most impactful book you have read and what did you learn from it?
Uh, well, I think this is business book, right?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you count it as a business book, but I certainly use it to guide my business decisions, which is The Art of Thinking Clearly, which is a book I read like 30 years ago. And I still carry the teachings of that book with me, which is honestly, in its essence, it's a psychology book. It's about psychological biases and how they shape the way you think, act, and decide. A lot of things like I'm sure you're familiar with confirmation bias, hindsight bias, and obviously the most popular recency bias. But having a grasp of all of those psychological biases that might shadow your judgment and well, lead you to bad decisions or maybe uninformed or unoptimized decisions, being cognizant of those and just trying to apply those teachings, I find myself doing every day. So I keep that book around all the time.
Okay. What are your goals for the next 12 months?
Yeah, well, obviously the focus is on Raspberry growing the company. We have a total of 7 great employees at the moment. I'm very happy with how things developed. We're obviously well still in the beginning, I can say, relatively, but in the next 12 months we have ambitious goals, and as a team, people who are here and people who will join, we're going to work towards that, and hopefully better product features, bigger reach, more impact. Everything's obviously on the agenda, but my focus personally and professionally is going to be on Raspberry for the next year.
What advice you will give to your younger self?
Well, I am still young, but if I were to think about like a childhood period, and it goes back to what I've been talking about, being kinder to yourself. I think that's one thing that I would say. Um, Take it more easy on yourself. Things are going to work out, even if they don't, they will eventually. Because I mean, maybe as cliche as it sounds, it's a marathon. Life's a marathon, and you have to be able to understand if things aren't going great, or you might think you didn't do your best, things haven't panned out the way you thought they would. It doesn't mean it's not gonna, because there is no cutoff point in life. Well, until the very end.
Okay. How can we support you?
Yeah, I'm, excited to be a part of the community. I've seen some previous episode. You've had some great businessmen on, so being a part of the community that you're building, keeping in contact with all of these people, just using the platform to have a better reach. That's what comes to mind for me in the beginning. But yeah, it's just growing the network and keeping in touch, I guess.
What would you say about your guest appearance on the show?
It's been great, honestly. Our communications prior to the show, and like obviously during the show, you're very attentive. You let your guests speak a lot, which is obviously a very good thing. So yeah, I've been very impressed by how professional everything was, and I've enjoyed being here a lot.
Thank you so much for your kind words. I really appreciate you. What closing thoughts would you like to share with our listeners?
Well, to your listeners, first of all, I love the name of the podcast, Connecting with Intent, because I do think we live in a world where people are just meeting and greeting, growing their networks, like so to speak, connecting just to do that. But the intent part is actually missing in a lot of those interactions. So I did find the name pretty impactful. So if the listeners, to them, I can say keep up the support, and if you want to do something, I don't know if the listeners are more younger or older, but if you want to do something, just be a doer and not be a talker. That's the biggest thing I've experienced in the last couple of years. So obviously, if you're listening to this podcast, you know what you want to do. You want to educate yourself. You want to better yourself in a lot of things, especially in the sense of business. So I'd say just lean into what you're great at, and pursue that, because you have what it takes. That's what I would say. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sinan, for sharing your wisdom with us today. On the behalf of Connecting with the Intent Formula community and our entire team, we really appreciate you. This is Muhammad Wes. Until the next episode, all good wishes.